Hi everyone, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. Look, right, you see this that I'm wearing? New Japan Pro Wrestling King Sports 1972. I wore this top into my mum's house when I was on holiday recently, yeah? Walk in the door, she says to me, "Oh, are you wearing the Miss Japan 1972 top?" What? Anyway, today we are going to talk about Star Wars box office. Whoa! Bloody lightsaber's broken. Hi everyone, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface. Star Wars, the Rise of Skywalker has just logged in its 13th day at the cinema. Facts and figures are in. And the question is, how is the final installment, thank Jesus, of the Skywalker saga doing? And I think the best way to kind of track how it is doing is to compare it with its predecessors. The other sequel films in the trilogy. Oh my lord, I'm just glad it's over. I'm just glad this is over. Because you can say, in a bubble, hi, I'm in a bubble. You can say in a bubble that it's doing fine. And it is in a bubble doing fine. It's making a lot of money. It's going to surpass the billion mark relatively soon. But the question will be, has it done what Disney expected it to do? Has it performed how Disney have wanted it to perform? And also the ramifications of where Star Wars goes next. So, first and foremost, let's go back to The Force Awakens. Now, there was an article recently in Forbes that said The Force Awakens did over expectations and surpassed all expectations and did over what people thought it would do. I am not in that agreement field with them. I think that The Force Awakens, the money that it did, was very much in line with the sentiment and feeling after watching the film by a lot of people. I know we're 4 years removed from it, and I know, nearly 5, and I know that a lot of people now want to take the retrospective action of, oh, well, it's just a soft Star Wars reboot and you don't really like it. You think, fuck them, right in their coals, because when people left the cinema, like myself, we were very happy with what we saw with The Force Awakens. I still am. I think The Force Awakens is a very enjoyable film. I mean, in hindsight, it's very enjoyable because it's very much carried by Han Solo. His presence in that film is massive. His charisma, his personality, he really does shine as the absolute star, head and shoulders above everybody else in the film. And I think Kylo Ren, I think Adam Driver is an excellent actor. I really do. And I think he brought a very interesting character with Kylo Ren, and I was interested in seeing where it went. Was it perfect? No. Were there issues? Yes. I didn't think Finn was treated, considering this kind of severity of his story, I don't think he was treated right. It became a bit of a comical character. I could come up with some excuses why Rey easily defeated Kylo at the end of the film. I was thinking she was getting, when she let the Force in, it was kind of, she got more of like a Force adrenaline surge, because it was like untapped Force power, and that's what made her just go, wah! And wail all over Kylo, and then, that would dissipate, and then she would have to learn how to truly control the Force, etc., etc. That was a mistake. No, she just got even more powerful after that. Okay. But it was, I thought, an enjoyable film, and I could probably still watch The Force Awakens and enjoy what I saw. It's like the first Matrix film. You watch that and you pretend the other two never existed. There you go. But I think it did really good box office, topping over the 2 billion mark, because for the first time since, 1999? Well, no, the first time since 1983, actually. Can I get this correct? The first time since 1983, it actually felt like a Star Wars film. Because I don't think, to me, the prequels didn't feel like Star Wars films for the most part whatsoever. And this just felt like a Star Wars film. Yes, it was a soft reboot of A New Hope. And it followed, the same themes, etc. But with all the practical sets and the costumes and everything like that, it felt like a Star Wars film. And I think that's what a lot of people really enjoyed. And then Rogue One came along and did, again, great bank. So when it opened, it has this absolutely stonking opening. So you got to take like the first three. And it opens up with like 257 million or something daft like that. Absolutely colossal first weekend. And then goes on domestically to nearly hit $1 billion. And internationally, $1.13 billion. Combined total of $2.068 billion. Absolutely phenomenal stuff. And you can't knock that. But, oh, can we just say, actually, going back, also on a budget of 245 million. So when you take in marketing into consideration, pretty much double the figures here. So you're looking at this round about the 500 million mark with advertising and all that sort of stuff, marketing, advertising, all that kind of gubbins. So the film, profit-wise, made 1 point something billion profit. Huge, excellent stuff. Then we get The Last Jedi. Oh, and this is where everything fell apart. Now, some of you heard this wee little story before. I'm sorry if you have, but just live with it. I was driving with my friends to the cinema to watch this. And a couple of my friends, one of them was a little bit nervous. And he said, what do you think the film's going to be like? Do you think we'll be disappointed? And this is hand on heart. I could not even imagine being disappointed after watching The Force Awakens. And I said, look, no matter what, after 2 hours, whenever, however long the film is, when we come out the cinema, guys, we're going to be like, hey, do you know what? That was a great experience. Wrong! We came out the cinema and we were like, what did you think? Yeah, I liked it. Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't like this, and I didn't like this, and I didn't like this. I mean, the thing exploding in the sky looked cool. I didn't like this. And the next day, I woke up and I was just like, oh my god, I absolutely fucking hated that film. Hated it. Dropping my H's. Hated it. It was dreadful, and it was so divisive. There are some people which pretend to like it, and they don't. They just pretend. But it was a dreadful, dreadful film. Now, working off an even bigger budget, $317 million this time around. So again, factoring in, you're probably looking at around $600 million with marketing and advertising taken into consideration. It grosses $1.332 billion worldwide. Got to get the billion right. Not the million, the billion. So it made made probably about $500,000 profit overall. And of course, the toys did not sell. But the massive problem was the divisive nature of the film. And the fact that it turned so many people off Star Wars with the treatment of the characters. Treatment of Luke Skywalker, treatment of Rey, treatment of Kylo, Boyega reduced to a nothing, Poe reduced to an absolute buffoon, Leia.
No, 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 no.
Oh my God. Mary Poppins is in outer space. Look, it's just ridiculous. There were so many dumb things in there. Rose Tico, the most... Well, we don't need to go into that. But let's have a look. So opening, it still does over 200 million. It clocks in at round about 220. There we go. 220 million opening in 4,232 cinemas. So less than The Force Awakens. And of course, most people are unawares of what's going on with the film. So it starts off strong, has a colossal drop-off. I think it was a 71% drop-off, somewhere along those kind of lines. And after 13 days, because this is going to get very important, folks, for the Rise of Skywalker, after 13 days, domestically, it's taken 445 million. Again, in a bubble, sounds fine. If we go to day 13 with The Force Awakens, 629 million. Oh boy. So at this time, the exact same times, The Last Jedi is tracking approximately 180 odd million behind. And even though this is a sequel, again, this should have been the pivotal part of the sequel trilogy, which made people exceedingly excited for the final episode. No! And of course, we know the knock-on effect that it had. The knock-on effect that it had was Solo, a Soy Wars story, where they decided to take the most charismatic character in all of Star Wars history, arguably, but I think absolutely myself, and cast a bland, boring, vacuous, terrible actor to play them as a young man.
I don't have people. I'm alone.
Solo.
And what you got with Soy Wars, Soy Willow, was just a terribly boring movie. I thought it was dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. And it lost money. It actually lost them. A Star Wars film lost them money. And it probably lost them around about the tune of $200 to $300 million. Now, a lot of shill media tried to reduce this. Oh, it probably lost about 40 to 50 million. No, it didn't. They weren't factoring marketing. They weren't factoring advertising. They weren't factoring reshoots. They weren't factoring any of these. They were sucking Disney because they wanted to get their invites. They wanted to get their interviews. And shill media is shill media. And this is why nobody gives a toss about them anymore. But this is why it failed miserably, because this turned off a lot of people, and then Disney turned around and said, hey, do you want a Solo origin story? No, because Harrison Ford is in his 70s. Okay, well, we'll give you one anyway, and we'll actually get an acting coach while we're filming to try and teach the lead how to act. Okay, whatever. So it was when I say bombing badly, not bombing in terms of profitability, but it was bombed compared to the Force Awakens. Oopsie doopsie scoopsie whoopsies. Then the Rise of Skywalker releases, and after 13 days, which we'll see soon. The opening was 177 million in 4,400 theatres. Let's just go back up. 4,200. And up here, 4,100. 247 million opening, 220 opening, 177 million opening. That isn't a coincidence, okay? This isn't, when I say Star Wars fatigue, there is a factor in that, but this isn't the Skywalker trilogy fatigue. This is being pounded with shite. This is being given stuff like Solo. This is being given the terrible middle tractor of the two, where Rian Johnson essentially killed off all the threads. And JJ, I know people want to call him JJ Binks. But Jar Jar Abrams, he essentially had to try and build two films in one, because he had to try and create some threads to take the thread somewhere. And we can argue whether or not the good and the bad and the ugly of that. The simple fact is, people weren't that interested in going to see it, comparatively to the others. Because, of course, in a bubble, I am still in this bubble. In a bubble, it's doing fine. But it's not doing what Disney truly wanted it to do. Then we have the Christmas period. And the Christmas period for the Rise of Skywalker was a godsend, because there was nothing. There was nothing to compete with it at all. And so it was the major film. Are you going to go see Cats? No, not unless you just want to laugh. And I'm kind of tempted to see Cats just for a laugh. I want to sit there wetting myself with a cafeteria. Oh, no, whatever. So, after 13 days, where does The Rise of Skywalker sit comparative to The Last Jedi, which was at 445? And the answer is, folks, 407. Can I... You raise me up. Ooh, you're all I want in this... Okay. So, raising it up, 407. But Houston, we've got a couple of problems. Now, the first problem, of course, is this is tracking less than The Last Jedi, which was, inverted commas, tanking, because people were getting the word out that this film was dreadful and they weren't interested in seeing it further. And even then, still was doing 445 million. Rise of Skywalker, 407 million. The bigger problem is this. The international. Because the international is dropping severely comparative to the domestic. We're now going at domestic 50-50. And that's still while it's only 13 days in. If we look, for example, at The Force Awakens, the international was doing 55% compared to 45% of domestic. And even with The Last Jedi, it's still 53.5% to 46.5%. But this time around, the international is not supporting the domestic. And with it not doing particularly well in big areas like China. Now, that isn't a Rise of Skywalker issue. That's a China issue. China have never really gravitated towards Star Wars, period. Okay? So even things like The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, even they didn't perform in China as well as, other films have. So don't read massive amounts into it. It's the other countries, which, like the UK, it's not doing that great in UK comparative to how it was as well. So the domestic being exactly the same as the international is not a good sign. Now, this is absolutely going to go over $1 billion. There's no denying that whatsoever. But with The Last Jedi finishing on 1.3, analysts are now saying we think it's probably unlikely that Rise of Skywalker will finish its run at the same level of The Last Jedi. And if it doesn't, then that is pretty darn disastrous for Disney. Because, of course, you can say, well, it's doing well, it's done great, it's done all this kind of stuff. Yeah, but the problem is, when it comes to movie companies, they are predicting how much they think things are going to do. Legitimately do. Not the bullshit which they put out there to the press. The behind the scenes who are saying, right, this film's going to make us this much profit. And then they go and divvy up what profit they're going to make, and they say, right, well, that's going to go to that film, that's going to go to that project, and that project, and that project. So if things come in much less than they anticipate, then it's going to cause a knock-on effect to various other projects. Now, I know this has gone on for a bit, but I wanted to talk facts and figures. And I just want to end with this. Joker! Now, Joker has done absolutely exceptionally at the box office. Why? Because it didn't even open in China. It didn't even open up in China. So it didn't even get any bite of the Chinese pie. Still took over $1 billion at the box office. Domestically, 31%. Look at the international, 68.6. This was a worldwide smash. Whereas this is proving very much to be more of a domestic interest than an international interest. And after 13 days, even without China, still was doing $213 million. Absolutely incredible stuff. Incredible stuff supported by a colossal international audience. Now, where does this leave Star Wars in the future? Well, it's going to keep coming. We know that. They'll talk about putting on hiatus for a bit. Hiatus we're still going to keep the same schedule. But Star Wars isn't dead. And I don't want Star Wars to be dead. Yes, I talk down about these films because I can't comment on this one because I didn't even watch it, but I didn't want to watch it. Because this saga is just shite. That's why. Not Star Wars. This saga has been. But when you have things with the popularity of, say, The Mandalorian, that has kept hope alive that in the right hands, Star Wars can still be as a beloved franchise as many of us hope it would be. I don't think there has been anything since Return of the Jedi that has felt Star Wars than The Mandalorian, particularly the last couple of episodes in that series where it really, really came to power. Where the Moff, I want to just call him, the chap from Breaking Bad, Gus Fring. Where Gus Fring actually felt like a legitimate threat. He didn't feel like a clown on a spaceship, like the First Order have been throughout this trilogy. He actually felt like a credible threat. The way that the stormtrooper and soldiers, other soldiers, death troopers, shock troopers, flame troopers, the way that they were all also throughout the course of The Mandalorian kind of made you think, oh, in numbers, they can be, a pain in the ass. And so with The Mandalorian proving to be so popular, proving to be so positive, in the right hands, Star Wars could have a bright future. What Disney have to realise is they have to stop all this bollocks that Kathleen Kennedy is trying to push. I would personally get rid of the dumb...
It was at this moment he knew.
Person. What a save! And put somebody that seems to have a clue about the actual franchise. Somebody that actually has a clue about the history of Star Wars. And I don't care if it's male or female. That's utterly irrelevant. Somebody who knows their shit. Jon Favreau has proven that he knows his shit and he's done it in absolute spades. And God bless him for that with The Mandalorian. So even though this saga to me has been a damp squib, even though I have no interest in watching prequels with just pretty boys with no personality trying to take the place of exceedingly good actors with great charisma, I still believe in the right hands Star Wars can produce some great results and some great product. So it ain't a loss, folks. It ain't a loss. Hope you enjoyed the vid. I know it went on, but this might be all that you get today. If you did, do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming. Links are in the description box down below. And I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care. Bye for now.